The evening air was crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth as I stepped outside, leash in hand. My dog wagged his tail, eager for our usual walk, but my mind was elsewhere. As I watched my neighbors start their cars and drive off, the weight of my own reality settled heavily on my chest. They had places to be, offices to report to, meetings to attend, while I remained tethered to the remnants of a dream that had crumbled, leaving behind nothing but debt and regret. I inhaled deeply, trying to shake off the gnawing sense of failure. Just as I was about to begin my run, I noticed James strolling toward me from his pristine driveway, his usual confident grin stretched wider than usual. His car import business flourished, evident in the ever-changing lineup of sleek, expensive vehicles parked outside his home. Today was no different. "Morning, Robert," he greeted, his voice carrying that unmistakable edge, something between casual conversation and a subtle reminder of his success. I forced a smile, unwilling to let his energy seep into me. "Morning, James." As I made an offhand remark about his relaxed lifestyle, his chuckle was almost smug. "Yeah, got a few more cars to bring in today," he said before striding off, his laughter lingering in the air long after he had disappeared. I shook my head, turning toward my house, a place that once felt like a haven but now stood as a silent witness to the growing chasm between me and Nicole. Nicole, my wife, once my biggest supporter, the person who believed in me even when I doubted myself. But now, the warmth in her eyes had faded, replaced by an unsettling indifference. Conversations that once stretched late into the night had become mechanical exchanges, void of affection. The woman who used to call me excitedly in the middle of the day just to hear my voice now barely acknowledged my presence. I had tried to bridge the ever-widening distance between us, bringing up how she used to check in on me, how she once made me feel like I was still a man worth fighting for. But she barely looked up from her papers when she replied, her voice devoid of emotion. "Things change, Robert," she said simply, as if that was all there was to say. That evening, when she returned from wake, I finally found the courage to confront the growing emptiness between us. "Do you remember our first anniversary?" I asked softly. "That rooftop dinner, dancing under the stars." She barely glanced at me, her fingers still poised over her laptop's keyboard. "What's your point?" I swallowed hard. I miss us. I miss how things used to be." She sighed, shutting her laptop with a quiet snap. "Robert, I don't have time for this right now. I have work to do. Being at home doesn't mean you get to sit around reminiscing." Her words stung, sharper than I had anticipated. "I just want us to spend time together. Like before." Her gaze hardened. "Things have changed. I have responsibilities. You have your activities." Her voice was clipped, dismissive. "I don't have time for sweet talk right now. Maybe later." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "All right, Nicole, whenever you're ready." Later that night, I took my dog for another walk, the rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath my feet the only sound in the quiet park. I forced myself to believe that failure wasn't the end, just another challenge. "I'll rise again," I whispered to myself, patting my dog's head as he trotted beside me. When I returned home, I found Nicole sitting at her dressing table, carefully applying makeup. The sight stirred something deep within me, memories of how she once used to get ready just for me, eager for our nights together. I offered a small smile. "You look beautiful." She didn't even glance at me, merely finishing her lipstick and murmuring, "I am beautiful." Determined not to let the growing rift consume us, I asked casually, "What's your schedule like this evening?" She finally met my gaze, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Around 7, I think." "Why?" I winked. "No reason. Just asking." In my heart, I had a plan. That night, I would make her favorite meal, set the table with candles, open her favorite wine, a small gesture, but perhaps a step toward rekindling what we had lost. The next morning, I filled the house with upbeat music, letting the rhythm guide me as I cleaned, wiping away dust, straightening forgotten corners, refreshing the space that had become so lifeless. It was a simple act, but with every swept floor and emptied trash bin, a small sense of purpose returned. By late afternoon, I headed to the grocery store, carefully selecting ingredients, imagining her expression when she saw the effort I had put in. As an afterthought, I stopped by the wine shop. The doorbell chimed as I stepped inside, and Pam, the saleswoman, greeted me with a familiar smile. "Well, look who it is. Haven't seen you in a while. How have you been?" I managed a small smile. "I've had better days, but I'm getting by." When I asked for Nicole's favorite rosé, Pam hesitated for just a moment before raising an eyebrow playfully, planning a romantic evening. I chuckled, trying to sound casual. Something like that. But then her smile faltered slightly. "Oh, Nicole was just here about an hour ago. Picked up a bottle of the same wine." I blinked. She was... Pam hesitated, as if realizing she had said too much. "Maybe she's planning a surprise for you, too," she added quickly, clearing her throat. The drive home was filled with swirling thoughts. Could Nicole also be planning something for me? But if so, why not mention it? And why buy the wine in the afternoon if she was going to be home for dinner? By 7:45 p.m., the table was set, the aroma of dinner filling the air, but Nicole was nowhere to be seen. By 8:30, my phone rang. Her voice came through rushed, breathless. "Hey, Robert, I'm so sorry. An unexpected business trip came up. I couldn't turn it down." My stomach tightened. "Oh, okay. Can't you leave in the morning?" "I'm already on my way," she said quickly. "It's a big opportunity. Could open some doors for me." I exhaled slowly, staring at the untouched dinner before me. "I understand. I just wish you had told me sooner." I know, she said hurriedly. "Everything happened so fast. I really have to go. Robert." There was a pause. Then, as if an afterthought, she added, "By the way, I don't know how long this trip will last. Maybe 2 weeks or so." The call ended, leaving me staring at my phone, a sinking feeling settling deep in my gut. Something wasn't right, and soon I'd find out why. I didn't wait until I got home. The moment I stepped out of the store, I cracked open the bottle right there on the sidewalk, taking a long, burning swig. The warmth slid down my throat, numbing the ache that had been gnawing at me for hours. Another gulp, then another. The world around me started to blur at the edges, the alcohol fueling my bitterness, twisting my thoughts into a slurred monologue meant for no one in particular. "Do you know my wife?" I muttered to a passing stranger. "She's probably out having the time of her life with her boss, while I'm here, celebrating." A sharp, humorless laugh escaped my lips. A one-man party. That's me. Somewhere along the way, I lost my bottle. It didn't matter. My mind was already clouded, my body unsteady. I stumbled back toward the store, hands diving into my pockets, searching for cash. Nothing. Just empty fabric and a reminder of how pathetic the night had become. An old man stood nearby, watching me with quiet curiosity and something else. Pity, maybe. I turned to him, my voice rough and desperate. "Got $1? Need a drink." The old man sighed, pulling out a few crumpled bills from his worn coat. "It's all I've got," he said, holding the money out to me. I took it with a muttered thanks, a fleeting moment of gratitude dissolving in the haze of my inebriation. A strange sense of camaraderie flickered to life in my drunken mind, and I gestured toward the store. "Come have a drink with me." He shook his head. "You had enough." I was about to argue when a sudden nausea twisted my stomach. The ground tilted. The next thing I knew, I was doubled over, emptying my gut onto the wet pavement. The old man sighed again, his expression unreadable. "You live nearby?" he asked after a moment. I wiped my mouth, barely able to form words. "Just wanna sleep." The streets had emptied, save for the occasional flickering street lamp casting elongated shadows on the pavement. The old man hesitated before sighing again, as if resigning himself to something. "Come on," he said, steadying me with a surprisingly firm grip. "You can't sleep out here." He led me beneath a nearby bridge, where a crude shelter stood, a patchwork of old wood and tattered tops. It wasn't much, but it was dry. It was his home. And for the night, it would be mine too. Morning arrived with a gentle breeze and the distant chirping of birds. My head throbbed, my mouth dry as sandpaper. The world around me was unfamiliar at first, the filtered light casting soft patterns through the gaps in the shelter, the scent of damp earth filling my senses. I groaned, pushing aside the makeshift curtain and stepping out into the cool morning air, squinting against the brightness. Down by the river's edge, the old man sat with a fishing line cast into the slow-moving water. His movements were deliberate, patient. He didn't look up when he spoke. "Rough night." I didn't answer immediately, watching the ripples in the water, my mind still fogged with the weight of everything. Finally, I muttered, "Yeah, you could say that." He nodded, reeling in his line slightly. Heartbreak does that to a man. I turned to him then, really looking at him for the first time. His face was weathered, lined with years of hardships, yet his eyes held a quiet understanding. And for the first time since last night, I felt something other than anger. I felt seen. A cautious voice interrupted my thoughts. I turned to see a man approaching with a knowing smile. "Took you a while to wake up," he remarked, adding with a chuckle, "We had a bit too much fun last night." I blinked, momentarily taken aback by his warmth. I don't remember how I ended up here," I admitted. "Yeah, well, the old man, Jim Hughes, as he introduced himself, chuckled. You drank yourself into the pavement. Didn't feel right leaving you there." My cheeks burned with embarrassment. I didn't cause any trouble, did I?" Jim leaned back, the morning sun reflecting in his tired eyes. "You were a bit loud. Kept going on about your wife." I exhaled sharply, the memories rushing back in a bitter tide. "Sorry about that. I've just been going through a lot." Jim's expression softened. "Been there myself," he said. "Grief. Feeling lost. It has a way of drowning a man." A beat of silence passed. Then Jim stretched, nodding toward the shelter. "Come on. Let's get some breakfast in you." "Got anything to drink?" I asked, rubbing my temple. Jim chuckled knowingly. "Figured you'd say that." Soon, the rich aroma of fish soup filled the air, the scent surprisingly comforting. I watched as Jim prepared the meal with practiced ease, the rhythmic motions of his hands steady and sure. "Heavenly," I murmured, inhaling deeply. Jim winked. "Old family recipe. Perfect for mornings like these." As we ate beneath the open sky, he shared quiet words of wisdom, telling me that pain had its own way of healing, that time, though slow, could mend even the deepest wounds. "Alcohol won't fix it," he said, his gaze holding mine. I sighed, staring into my bowl. "I know." Jim nodded knowingly. "It's okay to let go. Move on, especially if someone's wronged you." There was something in his voice, a quiet sorrow I didn't press. Instead, I thanked him. Before leaving, I noticed the wooden carvings outside his shack. Small, intricate figures and delicate objects, each crafted with a careful hand. "You made these?" I asked, genuinely impressed. Jim's eyes sparkled. "Yeah, a piece of my past I still hold on to. Woodworking, it brings me peace." I studied the carvings, admiring their beauty. An idea took root in my mind, faint but growing. A flicker of purpose. Days later, I sat at my computer, reaching out to local furniture stores, pitching my ideas with newfound enthusiasm. A week passed before I found myself back at Jim's Riverside shack. I expected to find him there, maybe working on another carving. But the place was empty. Only his backpack and jacket remained. Confusion twisted in my chest. Had he stepped out? Gone fishing? As I turned to leave, a sharp stone lodged itself in my shoe. Irritated, I sat down to remove it, but then my gaze lifted past my foot to the bridge. A lone figure stood at its edge. A terrible, heart-stopping familiarity gripped me. I bolted forward, shouting Jim's name. The closer I got, the clearer his pain became. A coiled rope lay beside him. His shoulders trembled. Without hesitation, I reached him, an arm wrapping tightly around his frail frame. He stiffened, but I held firm. "It's okay," I whispered, voice steady. "I'm here. We'll face this together." And as Jim's walls finally crumbled, as his tears finally fell, I knew we had both found something we hadn't realized we needed, a reason to keep going.